day one. Okay, so today we are going to start writing your systematic literature review paper from today. So if you have got your Google Docs access, you can open it. I'll give you a few examples first. We'll talk about it, and then we will have time to do some writing in class. So first thing first is, I'm not sure how many of you have seen my webinar videos, other than those who already attended it. I know them, but if there are new participants uh, who have not attended the session, or if you have not looked at how to search a systematic literature review. So in simple words, go to Google Scholar. It is free for everyone to use, and search systematic literature review, put that in double quotes, and a topic which is related to your topic. Put that in, and don't put a very narrow topic. Yeah, put something a little bit broader and see what results you get, because that is the best way you would be able to find uh, papers that may relate to your area. Okay. Let me stop sharing this and I will show that on Google Scholar. All right. So first thing, I've done a very simple search here, which is I've written systematic literature review, put that in double quotes, and just searching that itself, I can see a number of different systematic literature review articles. Okay. So let's say this is the first step, and then let's call, say, health, for example. You can see a number of research papers or systematic reviews on health. Similarly, if I were to say blockchain, for example, there are a number of reviews as well. So let's start with that as your research, as the first search. For a number of you, I have actually found some papers and already emailed you based upon the research questions that you had sent me. For others, I will do it today. Those that had registered later towards this. Okay, so that is the first step, finding your systematic literature review papers that are related to your area. Okay, so get 4 or 5 papers and download those. So now let's see what is it that we are going to write over the next 21 days. If you look at a systematic literature review paper, these are the 6 broad categories or sections you will find in a paper. Yeah, starting with abstract, introduction, methodology, results or findings, discussion and limitations, future work, and conclusion. Okay, that's the basic layout of any literature review paper. They may name the sections differently. They may reorder the sections a little bit here and there, but broadly speaking, a systematic review paper would have these kind of categories or these kind of sections. So if we look into the introduction section of the systematic review paper, you could talk about the background of the topic, give an introduction to your area, give some statistics of the problem, of how big the problem is that you are going to solve, or the problem that you are addressed for your systematic review. Prior literature review is which existing systematic review papers are published in that are close to you. Research questions, justification of research questions, why the research question that you have selected is important, why it needs to be answered, what are the main contributions of your systematic literature review paper, and then the structure of your paper. So that's broadly what you can see or what you should cover when you're writing the introduction section of your paper. So how are we going to write? Let's take an example to see how we will be doing this. So the first example that I have selected here is a paper titled A Systematic Literature Review of Blockchain Cybersecurity. It's published this year in Digital Communications and Networks Journal. And if you see this slide here, this is a part of their prior research section, yeah, or prior literature review. What other literature reviews have been done in this area? So I know you can't read it, and the purpose was not for you to read it, but just to show you this. I will go sentence by sentence of whatever is there on this slide to show what they are talking about, each sentence. Okay, so let's begin with the first sentence. Specifically in relation to the application of blockchain to the problem of cyber security, to the best of our knowledge, there appears to be very limited systematic literature reviews. So after each sentence, if you see, I have written something like a tag. Yeah. And the tag is my interpretation of what that sentence means, what that sentence conveys. So here I'm saying our work is innovative. Why? Because what the sentence is saying here is, to the best of our knowledge, we have not seen any systematic reviews. Yeah. So let's say that I tag this kind of a sentence as our work is innovative, or some kind of a tag, so that when you look into another paper, you may want to find something similar, whether they have written this kind of a sentence or not. Okay. You will also notice I have two colors highlighted here in green, two words highlighted in green. One is blockchain and one is cybersecurity. If you remove those two words from this sentence, it becomes a very generic sentence that can be applied by almost anyone. Yeah, I could say specifically in relation to the application of health, the problem of whatever, to the best of our knowledge, appears to be very limited. So this is what I call as a template. Yeah. It gives you a guidance of how you can frame ideas and sentences by looking at what others have written. And for doing that, I have selected good papers. So if you choose if you find some papers which do not kind of address this, it is because they're not really good quality papers. Okay, so again, focus on quality here. So that's one example. Replace blockchain and cybersecurity, plug in your area, your problem, and you have a sentence. However, yeah, just bluntly copying it like this will result in plagiarism. What I want you to learn from this is how a sentence is formed and what types of sentences are there in a particular section. Okay, let's move on to the next sentence. One of the most recent papers in the realm of blockchain and cybersecurity was performed by Salman et al. In paper 22. So what kind of a sentence is this? This is a most recent systematic review, or most closest systematic review that I can find. So if this applies to you, or you may already have found something, you have a sentence structure that you can apply. Again, blockchain and cybersecurity removed from this sentence makes it a very generic and a usable sentence. Next, we move on to a little bit larger sentence structure. And to be frank, I would not recommend such a long sentence, but because it was there in this paper, I'm discussing here. So what is the tag for this? The tag is summary of a SLR. Let's read this now. In this study, the authors highlight the challenges and problems associated with the use of security services in green, in the centralized architecture, in various application domains, and provide a comprehensive review of current blockchain-enabled methods for security applications and so on and so forth. So what this is doing is, what is the main summary? What this SLR is going to uh, has done the previous one. So a summary of a paper. So when as part of today's homework for you or tasks for you, you have to read through two or three systematic review papers and come up with a summary of 100 words. Yeah. So when you're summarizing a paper, you have to kind of read the abstract, read the research questions, and summarize their contribution in a format something similar to this. The next sentence is our opinion. What do we think about this? In our view, this study gives a valuable start to fellow researchers who might be interested in blockchain-based network and security services. So I have read the systematic review, I have summarized it, and now I'm giving my opinion about this paper. One liner. Yeah. The next thing that you will see written in this is what other studies are out there. So this was one paper that we summarized. This was the most latest paper that we found published this year. This is the summary. This is our opinion. But other than that, what is out there? Apart from it, a small number of studies in relation to blockchain and its broader impact have also been published. And we will discuss them below to examine the differences between the topics selected by authors and our research. So if you see this, what they're doing now, the structure of this paper was at the beginning, they had one uh, paper that they selected, which was the latest one. They summarized that. The next now they're saying is, okay, we have summarized one latest most relevant paper, but what about other papers? What else is out there that kind of covers a similar area? And how is it different from what we are proposing? Because later after this, in this paper, after this section is complete, they go to their research questions. So this is kind of a built up of how they are kind of justifying or convincing the reviewer that their work is unique, their work is different. Okay, so I have stopped here for that paper. The rest thing we will cover tomorrow, the other examples. But from this one, I'll go back again just to refine. So these were the 5 sentences, and each sentence in this paragraph really has a meaning. It is there for a purpose. You know, it is not just there because they thought they should have it, but they have thought about it. And that thought process or that argument logic is what I have called as tags. So our work is innovative. So they have said something about that, which is the most recent SLR, summary of that SLR. Based upon the summary, what is our opinion? And now that we have seen the first most recent paper, what are the other papers in this area? So if you see the logic and the flow of the arguments that are there in this makes a lot of sense. So when you are going to do the same activity today, keep that in mind. Keep that logic, keep that flow in mind, so that when readers read your paper, every sentence makes value. Think about it from that point of view. Everything is useful. Okay, let's jump on to another example, another paper, again published in 2020. So here I have got this text from their paper. There are many studies that focus on something in the past decade. So that is how they're starting their prior review section. Several review articles on these topics have been published, 15 to 18. Studies 15 and 19 have reviewed methods focusing on verification and validation of something for aerospace systems. As an activity, maybe later on when you're watching this video again, you can tag these sentences. And when I say tag these sentences, I mean the way I did it in the previous example. What is each sentence talking about? And as you do this, you will collect yourself, you'll make yourself a template that you can then use over and over. So it becomes like a architecture for your research paper. You know, the structure of how you are going to write your paper. The structure is equally important and useful as the actual research that you do. Studies 17 and 18 are limited in automotive applications. None of these review articles have applied systematic review approach. So one of the things that I think I observed during the webinars that I did was a lot of you kind of commented or asked me, there are no research, no systematic literature review papers in my discipline. I haven't seen a lot of them, or maybe none either. So that's actually a blessing in disguise, I would say, because if there is no systematic review published in your discipline or in your specific area, it is a good opportunity, you know, because your paper will be the first paper that comes out there. So if you are in that situation, this sentence is very useful. None of the review articles have applied systematic literature review approach. There may be traditional literature reviews, but not a systematic literature review. So keep that. So that is also a very good way to create this sentence structure, put it in your template, list of templates. All right, so this is the third one, the last example for today's session. Another paper published in Decision Support Systems, a top journal again. So in this paper, they start with, over the past few years, several survey articles on anomaly detection methods, anomaly detection for fraud, and applications of graph-based methods have been published. So here it is starting itself with, this is out there. These are the different SLRs that are published in our area. And the title, or just the thing in the green, detection methods, anomaly detection for fraud, application of graph-based methods. So this is the main contribution of that SLR, which is distinguishing them, these SLRs from one another. So if you look at this, the tag, what other studies are out there. So in the previous example also, in the first paper, we had the similar tag, what other studies are out there. So you now have two examples of writing this, this kind of a structure, a sentence in your prior readings. Our focus is to review papers on anomaly detection using graph-based methods. So this is our uniqueness. So our work is innovative. So let's say that is a tag that I used previously. I'm using it again here. State what is outside the scope of your SLR. It is also a good idea to kind of explain what is part of the SLR and what is not part of the SLR. Yeah, the scope basically. So this is an example of out of scope tag. As such, the review study by Chandola, who surveyed different anomaly detection techniques on multidimensional data and different types of detected anomalies in various applications, is considered outside our scope of review. Yeah, so you're also kind of delineating your work with what others have done. So it is not always necessary to summarize and justify how your work is different, but how the existing work is different. But it also is equally useful when you can say that your work, this work is just out of scope, but we have covered it here because we want to make sure that we have most relevant literature accounted for in our paper. Otherwise, the reviewers may come back and say, oh, you did not look at this paper. So you don't want that situation to happen. So out of scope, an example of how you can cater to that. Again, another sentence, another style for the same thing, out of scope. The review studies by Abdullah Bhattacharya and Guy, which specifically examine these different techniques, also belong to a different domain. So we know that we have looked at these papers and we have assessed that these papers do not, they're handling or tackling a different topic. It is outside the scope of our work. Okay, so those are the three papers that I wanted to discuss in today's session. So basically what I want you to do now is open your, say, one of the first SLR papers that you have been working on. Within that paper, find the prior literature review or an equivalent section. It might be called something different, or it may not even be a section. It might just be a paragraph. So locate that, break it down sentence by sentence, the way I did it in the examples here. Copy each sentence to Google Doc and tag each sentence to show what it conveys. What style would you like to use in your SLR? And write a 100-word summary for the selected SLR using the ideas that I have given to you. Okay, so if you all can open up your Google document now, Google Doc that I have shared with you. First, maybe just copy the title of your paper, the title of the SLR that you are going to use for this class activity, and then follow these steps 1 to 6. When I want to mark or review or give you feedback, try to keep your text to 100 words or 200 words, sorry. Yeah, I cannot read one full page of summaries that you have written because I would just not have enough time. So try to cut back on your writing, because that is what we would want in the end for your paper, in your paper anyway. So I can see some of you have written very detailed review, a detailed summary, and some of you have written very to the point. So that is, those that have done to the point, I think that is good. Those who have written quite a lot, try to condense it because we do not want to go over that 200 word limit. I think we can, I can see some of you have already started writing. So I think the next thing that I want you to do for your activity today, for your homework today, is to select a couple of more papers. So the homework for today is to read 3 more SLR papers in your area or from your list. It may be possible that you do not get the exact paper, exact SLR that is addressing your topic, in which case you can refer to the templates that I gave you, where you can, if it is outside of scope, you can mention it is outside of scope. It is somewhat relevant, you can mention that it is somewhat relevant, and so on. But try to summarize your three research papers, 3 SLRs by then. And doesn't have to be a very thorough write-up, because keep in mind, this is just one section of one subsection of your introduction section in your final paper. Yeah, so don't go overly too much on it. For today, the whole summary of these 3 or 4 papers, you could keep it around 200 words. Yeah, 200. If you go a little bit over 250, it's fine, but not like 500, 600 words, because later when you want to write that as part of the paper, you would have to cut it down short. So try to only write to the point and select which kind of writing style you're going to use, what you're going to convey from that paper. So always remember the idea of tags that I have given you. What is it about this paper that I want to convey? You don't have to talk about everything, but select some aspects of the paper, of the SLR that you want to uh, summarize or write. Okay. Do that in Google Docs.